Lingyin Temple is a prominent Chan Buddhist temple in Hangzhou. In front of the temple stands a peak called Feilai Peak, a modest yet remarkable elevation with a craggy appearance, very different from the surrounding mountains. Carved into the peak surface and natural caves are 153 shrines and more than 470 pieces of rock reliefs, dating back to the late Tang dynasty. There is a story behind the origin of Feilai Peak. Legend has it that atop Mount Ermei in Sichuan, there was a mythical flying peak. At times, it wandered to one place and then to another. Wherever it landed, it laid waste to the villages below, claiming numerous lives in its wake. During that period, Lingyin Temple harbored a monk named Daoji. Known for his wild and eccentric behavior and disregard for the Buddhist monastic rules, he was dubbed the Mad Monk. One day, the Mad Monk learned of an impending calamity. At noon, the capricious peak would fall upon a village in front of the Lingyin Temple. Fearing for the safety of the villagers, he rose before dawn and hastened into the village. Door to door, he cautioned the villagers. "Today at noon, a mountain is going to fall upon this village. Everyone, hurry up and move out or it will be too late." The elderly shook their heads in disbelief, saying, "Mad monk, you're just seeking attention again. How could something as heavy as a mountain ever fly?" Middle-aged villagers sighed with resignation. "Where can we poor folks go? If a mountain were to fall, we'd have no choice but to accept our fate." Youngsters scoffed at the notion, exclaiming, "Stop making up scary stories. If a mountain falls, we'll hold it up with our shoulders. We're not afraid." Meanwhile, children trailed after him, giggling and pointing, finding amusement in the spectacle. Despite the Mad Monk's earnest efforts, not a soul in the village believed his warning, let alone prepared to evacuate. As the sun rose higher, nearing the ominous hour, the Mad Monk's anxiety mounted. Suddenly, amidst the commotion, he discovered a family jubilantly celebrating a wedding, with guests filling in the house. The Mad Monk scratched his head and thought for a moment. Then he suddenly pushed through the crowd, grabbed the bride on his shoulder, and quickly ran out of the village without any scruples. The bride cried out in confusion as she was whisked away. Enraged by the sudden abduction, the crowd erupted into fury, chasing the Mad Monk with whatever makeshift weapons they could find, shouting, "The Mad Monk has abducted the bride! Catch him! Don't let him escape!" The whole village erupted in chaos, with everyone chasing after the Mad Monk. Amidst the frenzy, the local landlord, a bully known for his habitual oppression of the villagers, stood at the doorway of his mansion, taking pleasure in the chaos. A monk abducting a bride? What a rare occurrence, ha! The Mad Monk, with astonishing swiftness, carried the bride, darting across the landscape at an incredible speed, leaving the villagers chasing in futile for miles. As the sun reached its zenith, the Mad Monk suddenly halted. He gently lowered the bride to the ground, fanning himself with a tattered fan. Enraged villagers caught up with him and were about to beat him, when suddenly, darkness shrouded the sky, accompanied by a fierce gust of wind and a deafening roar. Everyone was thrown to the ground by the force. Yet as swiftly as it had arrived, the wind ceased, yielding once more to daylight. When everyone looked up, they saw a peak standing squarely upon their village. It was only at this moment had they realized the Mad Monk's seemingly bizarre actions had been a desperate bid to save their lives. As the village lay in ruins beneath the weight of the peak, the villagers found themselves displaced and desolate. Amidst the despair, the Mad Monk, calmly fanning himself, asked the grieving crowd, "Why cry? Don't you know the nasty landlord who used to torment us is now buried under the mountain? From now on, as you till the land, you won't have to fear his tyranny. And don't worry about rebuilding houses. You'll live better lives." Eager murmurs of hope and relief swept through the villagers as they envisioned a future free from oppression. Just as they were about to leave, the Mad Monk stopped them. "Hold on," he called out, commanding their attention once more. "Look, if the mountain has the power to fly here, it can just as easily fly away to elsewhere. Let's carve 500 Buddhas and Bodhisattvas on the mountain to keep it here and prevent it from harming others. What do you think of the idea? Unanimously embraced the suggestion. The villagers immediately set to work. By the break of dawn, 500 Buddhas and Bodhisattvas had been carved throughout the peak. Henceforth, the flying anomaly remained firmly grounded, never to take flight again, forever anchored in front of the Lingyin Temple. Given its origin from distant lands, people named it Feilai Peak, which literally translated as the peak that flew hither. The mad monk, purported to possess boundless supernatural powers, was always kind-hearted and ready to lend a helping hand to the poor. Thus, people revere him as the living Buddha, Ji Gong.